Do you know anyone who thinks Christianity isn't worth taking seriously? Like being an atheist makes more sense? Maybe you've thought about that for yourself. I want to ask you a question before you make up your mind about that. Not about whether Christianity is comfortable or popular or old-fashioned, but which story do you move in? Which story do you live in? And maybe another question, if you're an atheist, are you just living in denial? Every morning, without thinking about it, you make 1,000 small decisions. What to eat, where to go, who to call. And underneath every one of those decisions is a story. A story about who you are, what matters to you, how you feel, and where your life is headed. Nobody actually lives without a story like that. We can't. We're not the kind of creatures who just react to the world. We're the kind who ask why. Why get up? Why work? Why love? Why keep going when it's hard? And your personal story, your version of why, only makes sense inside a much bigger story. A story about the whole world, about whether any of this actually means something or whether it doesn't. Right now, two very different stories are competing for your belief. Story A says the universe is, at its core, an accident. Matter colliding with matter, obeying blind physical laws for no reason at all. On this account, you are simply here by chance. Nothing designed for you. Nothing is waiting for you. There is no why, only what happens next. Story B has something very different. That behind everything, behind the stars, the seasons, your own heartbeat, stands a person. Not a force, not an accident, a God who made the world on purpose and made you specifically to know Him. Two stories that are mutually exclusive. Only one of them can be true, and whichever one you believe, whether you've thought about it or not, is shaping how you live. Here's the strange part. Story A, the story that claims we're accidents, that there is no purpose, the one so many assume is the modern and reasonable and educated choice, this is a story almost no one can actually live in. Because every day, all of us, believer and skeptic alike, live as if love is real, choices are important, and some things are actually right, and others are genuinely wrong. But if story A is true down to its foundations, none of that can actually be real. Love would just be chemicals. Right and wrong would just be an opinion. We may, at some point in the future, live in a time where slavery is all right again. Meaning would just be a trick your brain plays on you. Try telling that father in that moment that his love for his child is nothing more than a molecular event. He wouldn't believe you. Now, it's not as if he hasn't thought it through. It's just that some things are too real to talk yourself out of. In that moment, he doesn't believe story A. The truth is, we can't actually live in story A. Life in this story contradicts itself every time you love someone, forgive someone, or hope for tomorrow. Which brings us back to another story, the one where the universe isn't an accident, where you weren't a mistake, where a personal God made you on purpose and for a purpose. That story doesn't just explain why the universe exists, it explains you, why love feels real, and why justice matters, and why your love feels like it's supposed to mean something. Maybe love is real, and justice does matter, and your life actually does have meaning. If you think that's true, you're living in story B. So when someone tells you Christianity isn't worth taking seriously, ask them which story they actually live in. Because on that test, one story fails and the other one has been true all along.